One vote. That's all it took to pass one of the most sweeping bills in modern U.S. history. Medicaid slashed, taxes shifted, and the national debt soaring. So how did it happen? And what does it mean for everyday Americans like you? This week, President Trump scored a major legislative victory. But it didn't come easy. Most of his past actions were signed through executive orders, bypassing Congress and heading straight to the courts. But this time, he needed lawmakers on his side. And the result came down to the wire. In the Senate, the vote was tied, 50-50. The deciding vote? Cast by Vice President Kamala Harris in her role as President of the Senate. Her tiebreaker pushed the bill over the finish line just barely. So, what's actually in this bill? It's nearly a 1,000-page package that touches nearly every corner of federal policy. Here are the headline changes. Extends the Trump-era 2017 tax cuts. Ends taxes on service workers' tips. Tightens access to Medicaid and food stamps. Eliminates tax breaks for green energy. Boosts spending on the military and border security. And increases the federal debt ceiling, but the votes weren't easy to secure. 3 Republican senators, Rand Paul, Tom Tillis, and Susan Collins, voted against it. Rand Paul opposed it due to what he called reckless spending and debt expansion. He was so upset, he even announced he wouldn't run for re-election. Susan Collins, however, had different concerns. Her state, Maine, relies heavily on Medicaid and rural hospital support. While she managed to negotiate increased funding for those hospitals, she still couldn't support the bill. One key shift came from Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Initially skeptical, she flipped to a yes vote after her state was exempted from certain funding cuts. In fact, both Alaska and Hawaii were carved out of the harshest parts of the bill. That's politics in action, where every vote counts and every carve-out makes a difference. Let's pause and talk about the real-world impact. The Congressional Budget Office projects that nearly 12 million people could lose Medicaid coverage by 2034 if this becomes law. Why? Because the new rules would require people to reapply twice a year, rather than once. And for families caring for children with disabilities, that extra red tape could lead to delays or loss of coverage entirely. One mother told us it already took her 3 months just to get her daughter certified. Imagine having to go through that twice a year. While Republicans argue these reforms are meant to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, critics say the impact will fall hardest on low-income and rural families. Now the bill heads to the House of Representatives. There, conservatives must decide, will they vote based on long-held beliefs about cutting spending, or will they support a bill that President Trump views as critical to his legacy? The pressure is on. Some Republican leaders are already facing backlash. Tom Tillis, who opposed the bill, announced he won't run again after being publicly criticized by Trump. Meanwhile, Democrats are launching campaign ads accusing Republicans of stripping health care away from millions. And those attacks could dominate the coming midterm elections. So what's next? If this bill passes the House, it will reshape U.S. tax law, healthcare programs, and social safety nets for years to come. And the political fallout? That's just beginning. Stay tuned. Want more clear, fact-based breakdowns of America's biggest political moves? Subscribe now. This is StatesWire, and I'm Matthew. Thanks for watching.